Hey guys, it's Core Ross and welcome to 6 News. So yesterday we got a surprise drop of a gameplay overview trailer for Rainbow Six Extraction, which reveals a ton of information and a ton of new stuff which looks pretty cool. So let's go into this and break it all down. So up first we get a total of 13 enemy types. I've played against a bunch of them, so like there's literally some goo that moves around the ground, there's the basic enemy, there's the explosive one, there's the big basher one, and kind of what you would expect from a game that is inspired by the Outbreak mod. So we have kind of that wizard one that flies around buffing its friendlies, and we have the router that actually stops players in their tracks, and we have the one that even has ranged weaponry. However, we have a brand new one, and this is the one that inspired the most recent Rainbow Six Siege event, which was Containment, and that is that you'll actually be fighting yourselves. They'll actually be, not converted enemies, these are actually growing operators using the DNA of captured operators. So these look really freaking good, and this obviously means you'll be going up against actual enemies that can shoot back. So that's cool, and it's kind of scary to go up against a sledge on the enemy team that apparently has electrified hammer. So yeah, that's going to be cool. That'll definitely mix things up a bit. And if there's one of these enemies per operator, we know there's 18 operators in the game. That is potentially 18 different hostiles, and I'm assuming if they're going to add additional content in, that we can get additional enemies as well. So pretty sweet. Moving on, we get our deep progression system. Now, taking a step back, of course, reality check here. This is probably simply going to be leveling up and choosing a few like skill points and stuff. I don't know how deep it's going to be, and we do get to see some of the menus in here, and there's nothing that looks particularly deep, I would say. And for example, here we have pulse. We can see that level 1 is the cardiac sensor. I'm assuming level 1 is just unlocked by default. That's how I kind of take it. Then you've got improved range, and I assume that's for the cardiac sensor. You'll also notice there's a headgear unlocked next to that. You've also got Arsenal update, which I'm assuming is just unlocking additional weapons for his loadout. You've got an armor upgrade. You've got healthy hands, whatever that is, along with a uniform unlock, and that'll again be cosmetic. You've got an arsenal update, which will be more weapons again, and then you've got a passive sensor. I'm assuming this might be a secondary gadget you can place down, maybe. And then you've got a speed upgrade. You've got another arsenal upgrade, and then cardiac enhancements as well. And we get to read the text for that one, which actually says teammates within 10 meters have their speed set to 4 when sensor is active, and scans detect enemies when holstered. We also get to see Hibana here with X Kairos as number 1, then Primetime, Arsenal update speed, Stronger recovery, Arsenal update, Armor piercing, Armor 3, and Arsenal update. This is actually Echo's MP5 at level 9, and then we get our final unlock for ammo refill, but it also shows us this is an ability upgrade too, which says that 1 round will now be recharged every 45 seconds, so I assume that's for her main gadget. And damage is increased to 400. That's a lot of damage for X Kairos, so I wonder if you can somehow use that against hostile enemies, which would be sweet. They also tease us here with a few of the final upgrades for operators. So for instance, Sledge here can actually stun bigger enemies. Vigil can make his entire party go invisible, so that's pretty sweet. But that's not all. We also have game progression. This is something I'd love to see in Siege, where it first of all has your level. So this person is level 23. They are 70% complete of the game. Your level is also separate from your operator levels, and it looks as if when you level up you get different unlocks. So there's obviously charms in here, there's uniforms, there's different cosmetic items, there's lore items, there's a lot of cool looking pictures as well attached to it all. We're also going to be finding out more about our operators, and we see a selection of tech that looks as if you unlock it as you level up. So you've got your usual stuff like impact grenades and all that, but there's a whole bunch of things in there. So it looks like there's a lot of variety. Of course, we get to see cosmetic skins. This game, of course, just like Siege, is going to be absolutely full of microtransactions. I can guarantee it. I'm sure there'll be battle passes and stuff as well, but you don't have to buy any of that stuff. So try and be sensible, because literally there's no need to buy any of this stuff. It looks like you get a good chunk of things for just leveling up. Don't spend money on microtransactions. There's no real need for it. But certainly it looks like there's a lot of progression, but I wouldn't call it deep progression. And also I think getting your operators to level 10 is probably going to be relatively easy. It'd be cool if there was like a prestige thing where you could just level them up again and maybe get something else that's extra special, but I doubt that's going to be the case. And the overall progression, that's cool, and leveling up and getting rewards every level, that's cool as well. No idea how many levels there'll be, but yeah, that's at least something, and more than what Siege has. Now let's move on to something I wanted, and I mentioned in my videos talking about Extraction, was I wanted a competitive ranked mode. For a co-op game, that might sound like a stupid idea, but my thinking was that like every week, or maybe every day, but I'm thinking every week would be great, is you would just have a set scenario that you jump into and you try and do it as best you can, and for how good you do, you get more points, which means you rank up. So if you are like the best in the world at this scenario, you end up in diamond, or if you're okay, you end up in gold. And they're actually doing it. I don't know how it's going to work, but they are adding our freaking ranked mode to Extraction, and this is awesome. I love this. This brings much more replayability in for this, and yeah, this is I'm really actually impressed with this part. So what we can take away from this is we have the Maelstrom Protocol, which is the map. It's stage 2. It says there's 1 day, 15 hours left, so it could well be a weekly thing. And it says score 20 points in a single Maelstrom Protocol incursion, and that looks like to be a challenge or some sort. And then on the right it has the rank, which says your class, and of course it has the usual diamond to bronze. And then below that it looks like this player has not played rank yet. They need to get a certain amount of XP to get into bronze. So that is honestly a big surprise, and if done well, that is a game changer for me. That is something I would love to jump into every week, do it with my squad, and try and do the best I can, see how we kind of fare to everyone. And it looks like you also get rewards because there's a Maelstrom Bronze class headgear just for getting the bronze, so presumably if you get into different ranks you will get different headgear. So maybe like Siege, but you don't get a charm, you get a headgear. I love it, that's very cool. And they also throw in a little bit of Chanka here too with his old school turret. Good to see that back. We got a little teaser of that before, but we get to see a bit more of it here, and definitely looking forward to using that turret yet again. And then we get a little bit of post-launch content. This is brilliant. So we're getting new live events. So that's actually cool. I wasn't expecting to get events in this game. So hopefully they're good. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We got new operators. We already know that Ying went through testing, and I think there's some other ones, so we're going to get them in the future. Probably seasonal content. That's a pure guess at this point. It might just be, 1 or 2 DLCs down the line, but hopefully it's seasonal content and exclusive rewards, whatever the heck that'll be. Most likely a few cosmetic items you can unlock. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Good to actually get confirmation that there will be additional content later. They've also made it clear multiple times now as well that they are not going to make any Extraction exclusive operators. So not going to make their own operators. They're going to always bring over operators from Siege, which I actually think is a bit of a disappointment. I would have loved to have seen some original designs for Extraction. They will of course be bringing in operators and completely changing their gadgets, but it would have been cool to actually make a whole new op for this game, but they're going to bring in just Siege operators. And then coming back down to reality, we get this thing saying 25 gadgets. So I presume they're counting all the operator gadgets, so there's 18 operators, and they go through all the different stuff. Of course, we get a little kind of look at the basics here, drones, claymores, but we do get to see some new things that look fancy. Very high-tech things. So you've got the shield wall, you've got a laser, which you can actually put on your gun, you've got a glue grenade, and yeah, that's cool. A little bit funky, but not really surprised to see that. You've got sensor grenades and all kinds of stuff, so there is a lot of things. And of course there is a big chunk of weapons, which of course are just coming from Siege, so it's not like we're going to have any new weapons. Now coming back down to reality yet again, we have the 13 high-stake missions. I'm assuming this is the objectives that are in each place you load up into. 13 doesn't sound like much. I'm hoping there'll be additional content for this too, because that sounds like it could get repetitive very quickly. Because when you play a scenario, you do 3 different maps in a row. That's 3 missions per load in. So you could quickly play all 13 in basically a couple of days of it being out. So not sure if this is great, but it does give us an idea of what they are. So we've got nest tracking, we've got sabotage, we've got shutdown, we've got specimen. So actually what you're doing here is getting a specimen alive. I did this in my early access gameplay. It was fun to do. And you've also got decontamination, which looks to be just killing stuff. And you've got MIA, which is rescuing the operators, of course. So yeah, some good variety. And of course, they're not showing off all of them here, so we can't make a good judgment on what all of them are like, if they're all, unique enough. And like I say, 13 might not be enough. And then moving on from that, we've got 12 ever evolving maps. So again, reality check. These maps are not ever evolving. They are set in stone. There's not like the procedural or anything like that. There's nothing too fancy about them. They are about 4 times the size of Siege maps, so they definitely have enough to play around with. And I assume the ever evolving is just the fact that the black goo continues to spread out over the map the longer you're there and becomes more of a hassle over time. But, kind of cool. Another thing to take away from that as well is that you load into an area and that's your first map. Then you go into another area, it's your second map, and then your third map, and then you get out. So those 3 maps are always linked together. Like they're always in the same area, whether it's San Francisco or New York or whatever. So those 3 maps are always in a clump, which means that when you have 12, of course, that means you just have 4 areas to go into with 3 maps each. So again, that sounds like a lot of maps, 12, but a couple of days of playing this game when it's launched, you're going to already have known every single map and played every single map. It'd be nice if it was double this, and I hope again additional content in the future with seasons might bring in new maps. That would be freaking awesome, but we'll have to wait and see. And then we get confirmation of all 18 operators. So this is what I thought. I did a video on what my guess was to all the operators, and it looks to be the case. So we've got Alibi, Smoke, Pulse, Nomad, Lion, Jaeger, Vigil, Sledge, Capital, IQ, Gridlock, Hibana, Chichanka, Rook, Fuse, Finka, Ella, and Doc. I don't know some of them ability-wise, because what the hell is IQ going to do? Some of them are very simple, like obviously Finka, it's very clear to what she'll do. She just basically do what she does in Siege. But IQ, I really don't know what she's going to do. And what is Jaeger going to do? There's not really anyone on the enemy side that throws grenades. So Jaeger's not exactly useful. So I assume that he'll have some sort of kind of skew on his gadget. And then we get to actually see some beauty shots of Chanka on his LMG kicking ass. And I can't wait to have that LMG back again, because it was so good in Outbreak, and I expect it's going to be absolutely awesome in this mode too. So looking forward to that. And then that leaves us with the compilation that they had at the start of the trailer, but we're going to use it at the end here and just reality check it. So there's going to be 18 operators at launch with additional operators coming in the future. That to me is pretty good. I think 18 is a good number, and if they add something like 4 per year, that's brilliant. Of course, that'll be free content. So again, brilliant. I'm not got a problem with that, and that'll mean the game changes, especially if the operators also become enemies as well. So up for that. We've also got the 12 ever evolving maps. I think that's more marketing kind of sided, and I do think that after just a couple of days, you're already going to have played the maps. In a couple of weeks, you will know them inside and out. So that's a bit limited. I think if it was double that, it'd be awesome, of course. And I hope there will be seasonal content where they add in new maps. But considering they don't say that in here, I'm definitely not thinking that's actually going to happen. But you never know. Maybe we'll get lucky. Then we've got our 13 high stakes missions, which is the objectives. You do 3 every time you go in. If you want to, of course, you can evac at any point with the loot you've got, or you can continue and risk it all. But 13 is not a lot. Again, a couple of days you're going to have played them all. In a couple of weeks, you'll probably master them all. So reality check there, I'm not so sure. And again, hopefully seasonal content will bring more in, but they haven't confirmed that, so probably not. Then we have 25 gadgets. This isn't exactly a big deal. You've got all the gadgets of the operators and, of course, all the stuff coming from Siege, plus whatever new stuff they've made up. Not too fussed about that, but it does vary the gameplay, so that is good. A lot of replayability. We've then got 69 new weapons. Nice. All coming over from Siege, of course. But the good thing is you don't have to worry about defender and attacker weapons. You can pick whatever you want. So that's a good lot of variety. Of course, I don't see this game aimed at Siege players. To me, this is aimed at the people who played Outbreak and really enjoyed it, and not the kind of PvP players. This is much more for the PvE crowd that I think is going to be a different audience from what Siege has. And then we've got our 13 enemy types. Again, I hope seasonal content will bring in more. I don't think that's going to happen though. I think seasonal content is just going to be like an operator and a few cosmetics and whatever. But 13 is a good starting point anyway. And I do like the fact you'll be fighting operators or operator clones. That is brilliant, and hopefully all of the operators will eventually get enemy conversions, and that will really help to actually bring in a lot of replayability. But 13 overall for the long term is not a huge amount, but hopefully deep enough. Then we've got our progression system. I think this will be relatively easy to get through. I don't think it's really going to be that great, but at least you do unlock a bunch of stuff as you're leveling up and as you unlock operators. So you'll get a lot of stuff to play around with. Of course, we've got a 3-player co-op, we've got our solo play, we've got cross-play, and endless replayability. Not sure how endless it'll be. One thing that is good, and they mention it here, is you will have modifiers. So basically, like Halo has skulls, you'll be able to, or the game will activate modifiers, which will do all kinds of different stuff, and it means every single mission will be different. So I'm looking forward to seeing what those modifiers will be, or they call it here mutations. And that reminds me, Halo co-op campaign is delayed until next year. I just can't get a break with co-op games right now. I really want a nice co-op game. I think Back 4 Blood is literally the only thing, and it's a little bit, it's nice, but it's not very deep. But damn it, Halo and Extraction both delayed till next year. Anyway, enough about that. So that is the trailer on everything that was revealed in it. There is a lot of stuff here, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting this game. Of course, being a YouTuber, I don't have to pay for it, whereas the price tag of $60 is definitely over the top. It'll of course be heavily monetized with battle passes, cosmetics. There's going to be a ton of stuff. So be mindful that this game will easily be half price 3 months after launch. So if you're thinking about bringing this up for $60, remember that if you just wait a little bit longer, and with all the delays, we've now waited 2 years. So you could just sit back, wait a couple more months, pick it up half price, especially if it doesn't sell well, which seems to be kind of where it's leaning right now with the reception it's getting. It'll definitely drop in price real quick. But it'll also let you know if it's actually good, because you'll see a lot of good reviews and a lot of gameplay. And if it's got that replayability that it says it has, then it might end up being worth the money at half price. But anyway, that's a bunch more information we've learned about Rainbow Six Extraction. It's not coming out till January next year, if it doesn't get delayed again. But I'm excited, and I'm honestly amazed that it has a ranked mode. That was something I was wanting it to have. I honestly did not think it would have it. And if they have that, be kind of cool, and like I say, like a set kind of scenario, it'll be awesome to do my own run and then go online and watch other YouTubers do their runs and see how I do compared to them. So that is a big selling point for me. And yeah, this is pretty cool. So that is a lot more information on Rainbow Six Extraction. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.